Hello, everybody. Welcome in. We'll give people just a second to get in and get settled. Hope everyone's having a great Friday so far. I can tell you my Friday started off quite poorly. My freezer, freezers make noise and then you have to deal with them. And apparently, if no one knows this, you're supposed to defrost your freezer every 6 months. So if you haven't defrosted your freezer ever, uh, you're supposed to do that every 6 months. So that's how my day started. But we're here now. And things are going to get better because it's Focus Friday. People, one more minute. Afternoon from Halifax, my hometown. I'm really sorry for everyone who's now thinking about their freezers. That's really is. It was not a fun way to start the day. All right, we will hop in and get started. Everyone, hello and welcome in. And if you haven't been here before, welcome for the first time. If you have been, then welcome back. This is Focus Friday. I'm Tiffany MacLennan, your host. I'm so glad that you could join us on your Friday afternoon. This has become, I think, one of my favorite parts of my job, being able to bring this group together every other week. So it's so great that you could be here today, and I'm really excited to be doing this with some more focus from our AI Academy side of HESA that has been a little bit quiet over the last few months since our conference a few months back in March. So lovely to have you here. If you've never been before, Focus Friday is basically a place to come and hang out and chat about cool things that are happening in the sector, meet your peers, hear what people are talking about, and ask questions. And again, hang out. It's Friday. This is Focus Friday. The first half of this conversation will be Stephanie and I having a bit more of a guided discussion, and then going into an open discussion where you, the audience, can ask any question that your heart desires. If you weren't here last week, 2 weeks ago, you missed an interesting one. We did, of course, what was the hot topic of 2 weeks ago, the federal budget. The federal budget, never a boring topic in the higher education sector by any sense. But we really dove into kind of what the budget signaled about what the national priorities are, where it aligned, and where it didn't with the realities on our campuses, how a lot of institutions will be positioning themselves to kind of get in on some of the funding that was brought up, where some people will be left behind, and kind of what the indicator should be that we're looking for on how transformational some of this investment from this budget will be on campus. Now that the budget has passed, I do recommend you going and looking at that one if you haven't already. Today, we're kind of switching gears a little bit and chatting about the most requested topic for Focus Friday, which is AI and what AI looks like on our campuses. And I'm so happy to have Stephanie here with me. Stephanie Enders is the Chief Delivery Officer from the Alberta Machine Intelligence Institute, AMII. And I'm so sorry, I should have asked you this before. It is AMII, not AMI. That's what I meant to ask you before we let everybody into the room, but we were talking about other things. But yeah, Stephanie's here to join me to chat about what AI adoption looks like on our campuses. How do we build literacy? How do we build talent? And how do we make ethical choices with AI while we're also moving kind of quick enough through the adoption and so forth that's happening on our campuses. So AMII is one of Canada's 3 national AI institutes under the Pan-Canadian AI strategy. Stephanie herself leads a team responsible for translating advanced AI research into practical, responsible real-world applications, including workforce development, which we're all developing the workforces in our jobs every day. So a great person to be here. We're going to dive into what AI readiness really is, what some of the partnerships look like that AMII is leading, and how the future of AI might look on our campuses. Stephanie, are you ready for questions?
Yeah, sounds good.
Fantastic. To start us off, for those who do not know, can you walk us through what is AMII and what do you see as AMII's role within the Pan-Canadian AI strategy?
For sure. I'm sure lots of folks on the call know, but Canada was the first nation in the world to have a national AI strategy. It was launched in 2017, really as a response to Canada's long-standing research investments in AI across the nation through post-secondaries, and look to the future of how can Canada initially focus on continuing to advance the fundamentals of the research and support that talent pipeline at wonderful universities across the country. From there, the three institutes were established, really with a mandate of bringing that to fruition. Canada is enviable around the world because the scientific excellence of the three institutes is really guided by a legacy of three Turing Award winners, uh, the equivalency to a Nobel Prize in computing science. And our chief scientific advisor, Dr. Rich Sutton, was awarded that earlier this year, meaning that Joshua Bengio, Jeff Hinton, and Rich are all at that kind of godfather status in AI. But it is challenging to find, like, how do you make that more applicable to economic benefit and societal gain? So here at AMII, where we really see ourselves fitting into the national pan-Canadian AI strategy, is three main pillars. So the first is a commitment to invention. So we have this amazing legacy of AI research, but what does that next generation of research look like? So for us, we manage a large portfolio of research investment. We have 58 chairs across multiple universities in Western Canada and represent an emerging research or student researcher base of about 700 graduate students. Alongside our partners at the University of Alberta, we, about 3 years ago, embarked on a big recruitment of 22 chairs across multiple faculties. So thinking about that next generation of research talent where they're bilingual in that they are advancing a specific domain like chemistry or space or materials manufacturing and advancing the field of AI. So not just using it, but advancing it. Our second commitment is really to innovation, and this is how we think about commercialization broadly. So Canada is really powered by small and medium enterprises. How do we think about ways for them to consider AI adoption that's best for the business challenges they're facing, and then have a trusted partner to work alongside in that model, all the way from building custom bespoke models to figuring out ways on partnership and then helping them really inform their purchasing choices as they're purchasing AI tools. And then last is diffusion, which we know that when new technology or general purpose technology comes to market, diffusion is the number one way to economic impact. And that is what are all the levers we can pull to improve AI literacy with a goal towards AI fluency appropriate for different kinds of roles. And so I could spend like an entire day speaking about all of our literacy initiatives, but we really do look at this as a lifetime journey. So we have literacy interventions from kindergarten to retirement, because it is a general purpose technology that is really impacting people in every facet of their life. And we need to find appropriate levels of understanding for how people are interacting with this technology every day.
Now, the project that I brought you in to talk about today specifically is AMI's AI Workforce Readiness Program. Could you walk us through what that project is, the vision behind it, and kind of where you saw the gaps or needs that resulted in this project starting?
Absolutely. So I'm not too sure if we have any friends from Norquest College on the call today, but I would like to give a special shout out to Norquest. Years ago, they led a project called AI Pathways, funded by what is now Prairie Scan, that brought together four post secondaries to develop joint curriculum for kind of diploma and undergraduate programs, specifically in AI. So think ML technician level, and they brought AMII on board as their AI curriculum expert, and we developed a lot of materials in partnership with those four PSIs led by Norquest. And it was a wonderful program, an incredible collaboration. So at first, hats off to them for really leading that. And then as we started to see more and more interest across campus, we had a partnership with the University of Alberta where they brought in a essentially universal undergraduate course called AI Everywhere, led by two chairs, Alana Fish and Adam White. They did the incredible work of meeting with all faculties to get a new undergraduate course approved as an interdisciplinary option that was really around bringing undergraduates together to really think about AI in their home faculties and then earn an AI certificate while in their home faculties. Alana Fish is actually leading the first of the capstone courses this semester for those students coming through. So we were noodling and working on this integration of the Institute into post-secondary life, especially at that undergraduate level, where before we had been focused really specifically on developing master's and PhD talent. We had worked with Google.org previously in a project on autonomous water treatment facilities for remote locations. And we had a really wonderful relationship with Google.org. And they came to us as they were getting ready to deploy their AI Workforce Fund in Canada. Previously, it had been deployed in the US and the UK with partners like the Girl and Boy Scouts of America or with alignment to K-12. Their goal was really workforce AI literacy. And so we had a great conversation and we thought deeply about our work with the Pathways program, how we saw the impact of AI everywhere at the U of A. And we pitched Google on thinking about workforce readiness, not in workforce, but moving to the post-secondary layer. And then we really thought about that there's so much focus on AI within computing science. What are the pathways to having AI workforce readiness in other departments and faculties and across different kinds of post-secondaries, especially the college and polytechnic layer? So we took all of our lessons from AI Everywhere and the Pathways program, and we imagined an opportunity where we could have post-secondaries collaborate across all of these different forms of post-secondaries and really think about how do we bring support to faculty members in a way that doesn't add work to their life, but actually is a value add that can run parallel to the deep conversations about what are new programs, what are new curriculum pathways, so that there's not a gap in the opportunity to prepare students. We have a culture of ambition here at AMII. And so with the Pathways program, we set ourselves a goal of engaging with 25 post-secondaries over 3 years and impacting 125,000 students a year. That's a big goal. The post-secondary community has come to play in a big way. So we're at 40 PSIs in the consortium representing 600,000 students. And there's two main mechanisms that we're really looking to bring AI skills into the classroom. The first is through something called Module Zero, which is under an open education non-commercial license. So schools are encouraged to put it into existing places, to add content around it. But it's 3 hours of fundamental AI literacy focused on what is this technology? How does it work? What is the ethical lens check? And then some examples of broad ways it can be applied in lots of different roles in the real world. So Module Zero, it's available as a SCORM package. You don't need to have your students register with us. It's in pilot mode right now at 12 institutions. So again, we were looking to pilot with 3. We're piloting with 12, and it will be updated with all the feedback from those institutions and available again in the spring. The other mechanism, which is very exciting, and we're on the first 5 of 20 packages, is we encourage post-secondaries across college, polytechnic, and university to collaborate on where can we have the most impact on shared instructional materials. And so through a application process, we intake proposals, and then we work with our literacy experts and our machine learning experts that are 100% focused on literacy and training with the domain experts at the post-secondaries to create what we call curriculum resource packages. So these are, again, videos, readings, assessments, assignments. I think we even have requests for role play interactions in essentially AI deserts on campus. And so we have those come in, and again, we are so thankful for the post-secondaries. We see massive collaboration happening, and the first 5 kind of courses that will be receiving these packages are a variety of like college level courses, a number of like 200 and 300 level courses, and then one 400, 500 level course equivalency for materials in AI for nursing, AI in early childhood education, AI in biology and genomics, and then AI for finance and investing, and lastly, AI for technical writing for all of our engineering friends, because we really do see high uptake in using tools to support their business writing and not in a technical field. And so those packages are in development right now in collaboration with subject domain experts and faculty members at a variety of schools. And then my favorite thing about the model is all of the materials that are developed are available to all of the schools in the consortium, regardless of if they were in the original proposal or not. So we are intaking more schools, and we'll have another call for shared proposals coming up in the winter. So that's like it at a very high level. I think some of the biggest lessons so far is um, doing it at this scale with no financial commitments from the post-secondaries is only possible because of ongoing relationships with international philanthropic foundations like Google.org. Um, Google.org has been an amazing partner, and the question I always get asked is like, are you advertising for Google in all of these materials? Are you teaching Google tools? We're actually prohibited from it. So Google actively requested not to have materials co-branded. We are not allowed to pitch or sell Google products within any of the materials. And we might mention tools like as we go, like some programs might want an overview of like the most popular tools and how to think about using tools, but we're actually restricted from instruction or integrating Google curriculum into these programs. So that's the first piece. And the second is like you never know where one project might go in the future. And so that was the other piece, is really thinking about how all of our previous post-secondary work could inform this. And then having faith that if you make a big swing and you're really open and collaborative, other people are going to join you. So the speed of which this program came together with Google was very quick. So we were really having to go in blind, not knowing if any post-secondaries would partner on us with this. We weren't able to bring the consortium together before applying for the grant. And so the faith of the community, knowing that how collaborative Canadian post-secondaries are, that's been the biggest joy, is seeing the post-secondaries come and join us.
Absolutely. And I see some questions in the chat already about asking if you can send up the follow alongs for timelines, next calls for proposals. So we will ensure that you get that, especially if you're on this call today. You can get that in the next Focus Friday email as well. But I want to stay on the same thing, same theme before I bring us to kind of a different topic a little bit. What is the value for institutions when joining this consortium? What is it that makes the collaboration work? And maybe what is the benefit of doing this as opposed to building your own AI literacy alone?
Yeah, so the first piece is I don't think it's a us or your institution, because I think when we talk to post-secondaries are having so many different mechanisms for how they're thinking about AI. And the most important thing is internal buy-in to those processes. And so I do not think there is a one-size-fits-all approach to how to bring AI onto your campus for your academic staff, for your administrative staff, or for your students. I think it's really important to go back to your culture, your values, your commitments, and your strategic plan, and piece together different opportunities that work for how you're going to bring AI to life on campus. And so that would be the first. It's never a AMII or, it's AMII and. And then some of the things that I think have worked well in that collaboration is you can almost think of AMII as a neutral territory with AI. We don't have a specific lens on how AI should or should not be used on your campus. We're there as a really trusted partner on the expertise of AI, and more so on the expertise of AI literacy. The other piece is we understand the, like, essentially the burden placed on so many folks inside institutions to get organizational buy-in that in addition to all of the resources that we're creating, we have excellent professionals, myself, our CEO, Cam Linke, our leads of the program, who are happy to meet with your deans, your chairs, your provost to help explain the benefit of this program to get you to a yes. Our expectation isn't that you do that all on your own, that we're here to be the partner. And then things for great collaboration on this is we've kept things light touch where we can, because I think that's the other piece, especially when looking at grants. The number one question we get from institutions before they sign the MOU to join the consortium is what are our reporting responsibilities? What is the lift to report back to you for participation? And so we have kept it incredibly light touch on that side. So it's about intention, it's about responsiveness, and it's about intent. We're not transferring dollars, so it's not about a requirement of specific kinds of stats on an ongoing basis. So where it's appropriate to keep things light touch, we keep them light touch. And then on true collaboration, I think it's really twofold. The first is we try to be as clear as possible about what collaboration means. So it doesn't stay in this ephemeral land of we'll collaborate. It's when a proposal is accepted, it's how many subject matter experts from the institutions are expected. What is the cadence of the meetings? What is the time commitment from your faculty? And what is our promise to you on what the timeline of delivery will be? So I think creating really clear lanes for collaboration and then also making things like feedback really easy. So an example with the Module 0 pilot, the feedback forms for the module are actually embedded in the course. And so you don't have to find another email. You don't have to wait for the pilot to be over and then come to a meeting. It's that immediate piece. And so I think that's been really great. And then here at AMII, we have a true commitment to a culture of collaboration and feedback. So we use a mechanism called NPS, Net Promoter Score. I'm sure you've seen it in a million airport bathrooms, like sad face, medium face, happy face, or a score from 1 to 10. We do that on a regular basis here for all of our programs and products. But the part that might be a bit radical is that feedback in real time is available to every team and to team the executive overall. So it's a way to get really comfortable with feedback being this always on mechanism. It helped people look for patterns over time, but also not overly focus on outliers. And so it gets rid of that sticker shock. It can be hard for new staff where you're in a Slack channel and there's a big red unhappy face that might pop up, but it's about making it normal to see a variety of responses and take action when appropriate. Does that answer the question on collaboration?
I believe so.
Okay.
I was at the Higher Education Quality Council of Ontario conference about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, and we were talking pretty in depth about how we are data rich and sometimes information rich, but we are certainly not data quick. And that I think one of the things that I'm really hearing from this is that you folks also have data quick, which is something that we don't always have the capacity to do or build, which is quite great. What I am going to bring us to our different train of thought now. Before we go any further, because I'm going to ask you some specific questions. What exactly do you mean by AI readiness? What falls into your definition and what doesn't? And what does AI readiness under that definition then actually look like on campuses?
Yeah, so AI readiness, I think is I'll be really clear. AI readiness is not a defined term. It's not something you should be aiming for. For us, AI workforce readiness is an umbrella term because it is going to have really specific meanings in different programs for different students. So I think the way that we think about AI readiness at a highest level is what can we do to ensure that faculty and students have agency, informed agency when making decisions on how to use or not use AI in their professional practice. So that's at the very highest level. When it comes to the literacy to fluency, like continuum, there's like a number of national frameworks, but the simplest one to understand is UNESCO's AI Literacy Competency Framework. They have a matching one for instructors. They have a AI Literacy Competency Framework for teachers as well. But the one for students, which we have extrapolated to workforce as well, has 4 main categories, and they stack in a really specific order. The first is human-centered mindset. So I think in lots of conversations around AI and AI in the workplace, we hear a lot from employers across industries and across sectors that still the most critical skill related to AI is critical thinking. So the UNESCO AI Literacy Framework also sets that up, that the first competency is around human mindset, that like we are humans creating this tool, we're humans using this tool, and we should use our skills and our abilities as humans first and foremost. From there, the next step is the ethics of AI. So understanding ethics from the broadest sense of like the environmental impact to the elements of responsible AI down to trust and safety. From there comes everyone's favorite, which is AI tools and techniques, which is where everyone wants to start. Everyone wants to like turn on Copilot, turn on Gemini, AI done. It's actually the third set in that competency framework. And then the last is AI systems. And so for folks on the technical side, this is how AI systems are built and developed. But then on the non-technical side, there's a complement on how AI can be deployed into systems and like the AI layer onto systems thinking. In the UNESCO competencies, there's also like 3 levels of fluency. The way we think about that for workforce readiness transitions wildly. And so for us, when we think about workforce readiness and AI literacy, we think of the UNESCO competencies, but then we think of like worker personas. And so for us, shorthand is AI curious, AI user, AI builder and implementer, and AI strategist. We think people will have different personas in different parts of their jobs, but they're probably going to come into one of those categories in a very specific way. And then we layer on one more like matrix, which is business impact or return on investment. So we think about that as things like optimization, resilience, productivity, safety, customer engagement. So for us, it's about taking things that we see day to day and thinking about how we stack those and realizing that readiness is not universal, that even within someone's individual role, they might be AI curious in one set of accountabilities, but an AI strategist in another set of accountabilities. And so we really think about how do we give people enough tools in their toolkit to have agency to move around and understand how they're going to apply, or more importantly, not apply AI in all the different facets of their work.
And I do see a question in the chat here that I'll lean into right now. What does that look like for campus staff as opposed to, a faculty member or a student? What does it look like across the ecosystem?
I think it's a similar piece is that it will be different for different kinds of faculty. It will be different for different kinds of administrative or organizational staff. And then when it comes to students, it's about helping them imagine a future while also navigating the realities of academic integrity with these tools. And so I think it really thinking about it as this dual experience for students, the application of AI as them in their education, but making sure that's not the end of the conversation with the students about AI. It's making sure that we're moving beyond the classroom with how the use of this technology will probably be radically different and have radical different expectations when they hit the workforce. I'm sure many of you on the call have seen the previous announcements from one of Canada's most successful startups, Shopify, that they're kind of moving to that AI first model, that there's an expectation that their employees are using AI with a lot of fluency and having that critical lens. So I think as more and more high performing, successful Canadian companies might take that choice forward, we have a responsibility to ensure students can make the transition from understanding AI use from an academic integrity lens to an expectation lens of their employer. On the faculty side, I think, again, I come back to the word agency a lot. It's about providing enough training and education so they feel informed to make decisions about how they want to use or not use AI as a productivity tool in their work, but also how it could be a multiplier in their research work. And so we are really seeing the opportunity on the application of AI to scientific research as a huge opportunity for advancement, not just productivity on their role as a faculty instructor. So I think that's a similar kind of two-line challenge for faculty. It's around managing it in their teaching world, but also thinking about it as a force multiplier in their research. And then there's so much that can be done with AI on the operations. And so I think it's having holistic conversations with the leadership team on the operation of the institution and where AI, especially beyond generative AI, can be used to really improve the bottom line of the organization so you can invest in the things that are aligned to your strategic plan. So these can be things like as exciting or boring as like the autonomous management of your HVAC systems. So there's like endless opportunity for AI in the operations of your organization. But I think sometimes we get a little stuck on generative AI rather than this like giant world. We have a shorthand of the 5 Ps of machine learning, where it's things like prediction, production, prevention, so like health and safety, promotion, so recruitment to like the inbound, and then personalization. The 5 Ps for us are a quick shorthand to get people out of the Gen AI bubble to think beyond just that like generative day-to-day support of a tool to help you in your work.
As a lot of you folks know, especially if you have been here before, we try to keep the first half of this conversation where I ask Stephanie questions, and then the second half of the conversation for you to ask any and all questions. So I have one last question for Stephanie, and this is my cue to you to be thinking about the questions that you want to ask. If you would like to ask a question, you can use the raise hand function, or I can only see a handful of people, including a Frank and a Ken and a Jonathan and a Carrie. And I saw Frank's cat earlier, and that was exciting. So if you have a question, if raising the hand will bring you to the front of my screen, or you can put it in the chat and we'll read it out. But to before we transition into general questions, I think one of the most interesting questions that I have, and I'm asked all the time, and I have no idea what the answer is. Let me be frank. Um, Many institutions consider themselves to be kind of at the start of their AI journey. And what are the early invisible wins that kind of help campuses build up the capacity to move their AI journey forward?
Well, I think something that we've seen in a lot of institutions as an early win is a space for dialogue and conversation and conflicting viewpoints on the technology. I think it's really hard to map other wins if you haven't had a space for open dialogue. Other early wins that I think are important are conversations with students to really understand how they feel about the technology now, and more so to gauge what their actual understanding is of the technology. I think we saw this previously with social media. We have, especially marketing grads, leave school, and there was like a generational assumption that because they were young, they would know all this stuff about social media. And so making sure we're getting out of our own way there. And then I think schools across the country have had different big first wins. So things like a sandbox created by an IT department, but then having really dedicated, knowledgeable staff in a CS department that can help non-CS faculty experiment in a safe place where they know the data is safe and that they have great opportunities to experiment with AI before bringing it into curriculum. And I also think the AI Everywhere course at the University of Alberta is an example of like a big swing again for an early experiment, that gauging what is the hunger and the appetite of the student body to come together across faculties to see the opportunity for these AI kind of interdisciplinary projects across campus. And then I think there's also been some great pilots of tooling in encouraging faculty members to kind of flip their assignments from uh, using AI first, but having a really critical dialogue about critical thinking rather than kind of a full sweep or ban on the technology. Of course, that's a appropriate decision in some courses and in some places, but I think it's been an interesting pilot to see people do flipped classroom, but in their assignments and do they flipped AI.